Alan Watts reveals the shocking truth: you're just acting. What if I told you that everything you've ever done, everything you think you are, every mask you've worn, every goal you've chased, and every role you've played has been a performance? Not metaphorically, but literally. Alan Watts didn't just flirt with this idea. He dove into it with a grin on his face and a question on his lips. What if life isn't something you suffer through or fight against, but a great cosmic drama? And you, whether knowingly or not, are its star actor. You see, the truth that Watts reveals is as thrilling as it is disturbing. You're not living life, you're playing a part in it. And the kicker, you've forgotten it's a game. Let's not water this down. From the moment you're born, the world starts assigning you roles. Be a good boy, act like a lady. Don't cry, you have to succeed. Be strong. Fit in. Sound familiar? These aren't neutral suggestions, they're scripts. We internalize them so deeply that we forget we didn't write them. We inherit identities like family heirlooms. We become sons, daughters, achievers, leaders, victims, rebels, overachievers, failures, all curated personas sculpted by culture, expectation, and fear. Alan Watts called this the myth of the separate ego, the idea that you are this isolated me, this person with a defined shape, making decisions and struggling through life. But that, he argued, is the grand illusion. You're not the mask you wear, you're the actor beneath it. But unlike a real actor, you don't realize you're on stage. You've mistaken your costume for your skin.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Let's go deeper. Think about this. When was the last time you did something just because it felt truly authentic? Not to impress, not to conform, not to protect yourself, but because it was you, raw and unfiltered. Most people can't answer that easily. Why? Because we've been acting for so long, we've forgotten where the act ends and we begin. Watts says it like this: the more a thing tends to be permanent, the more it tends to be lifeless. And our roles, ironically, are like tombs, fixed, solid, lifeless. We keep playing these characters: the responsible parent, the misunderstood artist, the strong, silent type. And even if the soul inside is screaming for freedom, we keep the performance going. Why? Because it gives us a sense of control. It gives us a place in the world's narrative. But control isn't freedom. It's another script with more rigid stage directions. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. If you're acting, then who's watching? Watts loved this question because it cracks open the door to a terrifying and liberating realization. You're both the actor and the audience. There's no one outside judging your performance. The universe isn't holding up a scorecard. You are the one writing the script, performing it, reacting to it, and forgetting you did all of it. That's the ultimate play. And that's why most people suffer, not because life is cruel, but because we believe the character we're playing is all we are. And when the scene goes wrong, when we lose the job, the partner, the status, we think we've lost ourselves. But the actor is still there. The play just changed. Let me ask you something brutally honest. What role are you clinging to that is quietly killing you? Is it the always happy mask, the I have it all figured out role? The strong one who never gets to fall apart? Imagine how many decisions you've made based not on your truth, but on what your role demands of you. You see, pretending isn't the problem. Pretending with no awareness is. Watt didn't say we should stop acting. He said we should remember we're acting. That's the secret that makes life not a prison but a playground. It gives you space to play many roles without becoming trapped in any of them. When you know it's a game, the fear goes away. You can take a risk. You can fail. You can laugh at the absurdity. But if you forget it's a game, every loss feels like death. And here's the next question you must ask yourself. If I'm not the role, then who am I underneath it? Watts would grin and flip that question back at you, because the answer isn't something you can hold. It's not a fixed idea. It's not another role. It's the awareness, the silent observer that watches the performance with curiosity. The part of you that feels most alive when you forget to act, when you laugh and don't care how you look, when you cry without trying to look brave, when you sit in silence and the world doesn't demand anything of you. That's who you are. Not a noun, not a label, a verb, a pulse, a wave in the ocean of being. But if this is true, if we're all just actors in a divine game, then what's the point? What's the meaning? What's the goal? What's again? The meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple, and yet everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. That's the sickness of our time. We've forgotten how to just be. We've traded presence for performance. But the moment you remember the act is an act, everything changes. So now we stand at the edge of something terrifying and beautiful. What happens if we stop taking our character so seriously? What happens if we step off the stage? Not to escape, but to remember that the stage itself is sacred only when we know we're standing on it. The next chapter goes even deeper. Because if you're acting, who wrote the script? The hidden director controlling your every move, and why it's also you. Now that we've uncovered the shocking truth that you're acting whether you realize it or not, we arrive at the next disturbing yet liberating insight. If you're the actor, who's the director? Who's behind the curtain, calling the shots, orchestrating the scenes, writing the lines you didn't even know you memorized? Here's the catch. Alan Watts didn't believe in an external mastermind pulling the strings. There's no puppet master up in the sky scripting your fate. No divine figure shouting action while you scramble through life. No, the twist is much deeper and more personal. You are the director too, but you've been directing unconsciously, forgotten, veiled, hidden under years of scripts and social hypnosis. And that's where the real danger lies. Think about this. Every habit you repeat, every fear you obey, every person you chase or avoid, these are not random. They are choices made from an inner command center. Most of the time we aren't aware of this command center at all. It's running on autopilot. Call it the subconscious, the inner child, the soul, the shadow, whatever term you like, but it exists. It's the part of you that remembers every time you were told, "Don't be too loud. You're not smart enough. You'll never be good enough." And quietly decided to direct your life to avoid that pain again. But here's the problem. Most of us are still obeying a script we didn't write consciously. We're just living out instructions implanted by teachers, parents, peers, religious figures, media. They were the ghostwriters of your story, and you've been playing your role so well that you forgot to question who assigned it. Watts called this the illusion of the separate self. You believe you are the actor on the stage, vulnerable, exposed, trying to survive. But that illusion breaks when you realize you're also the stage, the lighting, the audience, the scriptwriter, and the applause. The entire theater of your life exists within your awareness. You're not in the world, you are of the world. You are not a fragment trying to make sense of the whole. You are the whole, temporarily pretending to be a fragment. This isn't mystical fluff. It's a precise philosophical reversal. You've been taught to look out there for purpose, validation, answers. But the director lives in here, where you rarely dare to look without a mirror. Let me give you something practical. Have you ever caught yourself reacting automatically in a situation, getting defensive, scared, angry, and wondered later, why did I do that? That's the hidden director at work. It's not evil, it's just outdated. It's still running the show based on rules from 5, 10, 20 years ago. Rules that maybe kept you safe once but are now suffocating you. That's why awareness is revolutionary, because the moment you shine a light on the hidden director, you can change the scene, you can rewrite the script mid-performance. But to do that, you must first accept that the old director still lives in you, and it's not your enemy. It's just forgotten it was never meant to be in charge forever. Thoughts would often remind us that trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth. The self cannot be fully known through the intellect, and that's why the director remains hidden for so long. You can't spot it with logic alone. You have to feel your way into it. When you slow down, when you stop acting for applause, when you sit in stillness, that's when the real director starts to emerge. And what you find isn't a cold, calculating force. It's something much more profound. It's the same awareness that watched you as a child marvel at clouds. The same presence that sees beauty in music without explaining why. The same voice that whispers, "There's more," when life feels meaningless. That is the true director. It's not bound by fear. It doesn't speak in commands. It invites you to wake up. It nudges you toward truth with love, not force. But most of us silence that voice. We drown it in noise, urgency, status, scrolling, pretending. And in doing so, we leave the hidden director in the shadows, while the tired actor on stage keeps improvising lines that make no one happy, not even the actor. This is the paradox. You long to be seen as real, but you're terrified of removing the mask. Because what if underneath the mask, there's nothing? What if the director is just another illusion? Watts would laugh here and say, exactly, that's the whole point. There is no final self to discover. There is only awareness itself. You don't have a soul, you are soul, momentarily identified with a temporary script. To ask yourself, what part of your life is still being directed by someone who doesn't even exist anymore? An old teacher, a failed relationship, a childhood wound? Are you still auditioning for their approval, still stuck in a scene that should have ended long ago? It's time to shout cut. It's time to rewrite, because the moment you become aware of the director inside you, you stop being a puppet and start becoming a creator. But we're not done yet, because here's the mind-bending question. If you are both actor and director, who is watching? That presence, that pure observer behind all action and thought, that's what Alan Watts calls the real you. And in the next part, we will step beyond the stage entirely, beyond the actor, beyond the director, to the seat of consciousness itself. Escaping the theater, what exists beyond the role, the mask, and even the self. So now we come to the quietest, most unnerving truth of all, the one that Alan Watts hinted at in countless talks, always with a glimmer of mischief in his voice. If you are not just the actor, and not just the hidden director behind the scenes, then what remains when both vanish? What's left when the roles are dropped, the mask is removed, the director folds the script, and the lights of the stage go dim? The answer is not another label, not another role or identity, but something far more elusive and profound. You are awareness itself. Not a person, not a personality, not a thing, but the space in which all things arise and disappear. You are not the performance, you are the stillness that watches the performance unfold. You are not the story, you are the empty page on which it's written. This is where most people turn back, because this truth is beautiful, yes, but it's also terrifying. It offers no certainty, no solid ground to stand on. It strips away all the names you've clung to: achiever, victim, success, failure, even spiritual person. It leaves you with nothing, and yet somehow in that nothing you feel more alive than ever. That's because the deepest part of you has no shape, it has no boundaries. It cannot be seen, only felt. It is not what you think, it is what knows that you are thinking. It's the witness. It is the consciousness watching all the characters of your life come and go like waves on the surface of the ocean. Watts often reminded us that we are not drops in the ocean, we are the entire ocean in a drop. The play of the self is temporary, but the one who watches the play is timeless. Let's test this. Close your eyes just for a second. Strip away every label, not just your job or your name. Go deeper. Strip away gender, nationality, beliefs. Strip away your ambitions, your fears, even your memories. Now, what's still there? Something is. A presence, a quiet, observing awareness. You didn't create it, you didn't earn it. It's always been there. Before the roles, before the thoughts, before the world told you who you were supposed to be. That presence, that is the real you. You can't see it, but you can be it. It doesn't need a story, it doesn't panic, it simply is. And in that being, you are free. Now imagine what happens when you begin to live from that place. Not from your scripts, your fears, your titles, but from the awareness that precedes all of them. You stop reacting like a character caught in a tragic drama and instead respond like someone who remembers it's just a scene. You start choosing your roles consciously, knowing they're costumes you wear, not cages you live in. You begin to laugh at the absurdity of life, not because it's meaningless, but because you see it clearly. Because once you've escaped the theatre, once you've stepped beyond the self, the play becomes even more magnificent. You stop clinging, you stop pretending, you live. But the ego won't go down without a fight. It wants to stay the lead actor forever. It will whisper things like, "You're losing yourself," or "You'll become nothing." But Alan Watts knew this fear intimately, and he turned it inside out. The real you, he said, is not a puppet that life pushes around. The real deep down you is the whole universe. The ego wants you to believe that if you let go, you'll disappear. But the paradox is that only when you let go do you discover that you're everything. You're not apart from life, you are life. You're the moment, the breath, the mystery unfolding. There's nothing to fix, nothing to become, only something to remember. And maybe that's the ultimate truth. You've never been lost, you've just been caught in a really convincing role. The the spiritual journey isn't about adding more layers, it's about peeling them away. Until you remember you were never the mask, never the role, never even the director. You were the stage itself, the pure awareness where it all began and where it all ends. Not an idea, not a belief, but a living, breathing now. So, I'll ask you this. What would your life look like if you stopped performing and started remembering? What choices would you make if you no longer had to uphold the illusion? What would you create, express, feel if you knew, truly knew, that you were never the mask, but the presence beneath it? We're nearly at the end of this journey, but there's one final leap to make, one final reversal that will blow the walls off this entire illusion. Because if you are awareness, then the world itself is not separate from you. The play doesn't just happen to you, you are dreaming it into being. You're dreaming the world into existence, and now you must wake up. If you've come this far, then you already sense the edges of your old identity beginning to blur. The roles you've played are loosening their grip, the director's voice is fading, and the walls of the theater you thought was reality are starting to dissolve. What's left is this: the dreamer. Not the one caught in the dream, but the one who's been dreaming it all along. And this, Alan Watts would argue, is the most shocking truth of all. You are not in the world. The world is in you. That might sound mystical or poetic, but it's also precise. Every sound you hear, every image you see, every sensation you feel, it doesn't exist out there. It exists inside your awareness. When you look at a tree, the tree isn't entering your eyes, it's being formed in your consciousness. Every experience of reality is filtered through the lens of your mind, your memory, your expectations. Which means reality isn't something you observe, it's something you generate. You're not walking through a pre-written world, you're dreaming it, projecting it, co-creating it in every moment. And the moment you realize that, you don't just wake up from the act, you wake up from the illusion of separation itself. Watts said it best: you are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself. You are not a thing in the universe, you are the universe, temporarily appearing as a human being. You are what the cosmos is doing, right here, right now, and suddenly the game changes. You don't need to strive to become someone, you already are the totality in motion. There's nothing outside of you, there never was. The division between self and world, actor and audience, inside and outside, it was all part of the dream, a necessary illusion. But now, it's time to wake up. And what happens when you do? You stop fighting life. You stop trying to control the uncontrollable. You stop measuring your worth through someone else's lens. You begin to flow. Not lazily, not passively, but consciously, because you realize life isn't something that happens to you, it's something that you are happening. The anxiety dissolves, not because you've figured everything out, but because you no longer need to. You can dance with uncertainty, you can suffer and still trust. You can love without needing to possess, because you see, really see, that everything is you in disguise. So I'll leave you with one final question, one that Alan Watts would have smiled as he asked. What would life feel like if you knew you were dreaming it? Would you still play the same roles? Would you still fear failure? Would you still wear the same mask, or would you begin to play, to create, to live, not as a scared actor chasing a script, but as a conscious dreamer, sculpting reality from the inside out? Because, here's the final twist, waking up doesn't mean you stop playing. It means you play fully, with love, with clarity, with wonder. The curtain doesn't fall, it rises. The performance doesn't end, it deepens. But this time, you're awake. You're not just acting, you're aware.